Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Vestiges of History, where objects tell of storied lives. Today, we have our second episode on a woman who lived multiple lives, entirely on her own terms, Ada Strauss. Now, before we dive in, I need to do a bit of housekeeping. I've been working on this video for a very long time, and I really wanted to swing for the fences on this one, and that means I owe a sincere thank you to Ada's family for their trust and patience as I adopted this project and saw it through. So what are the vestiges? Well, we have two. The first is Ada's cut-down WAC uniform that she had tailored herself. The history nerd in me can't help but notice that she was clearly influenced by seeing men returning to the United States wearing shortened versions of their dress uniforms. Her uniform is complete, with overseas cap, skirt, shirt and tie, insignia, and the thing she was most proud of, her rank as Sergeant First Class. The second vestige is a beautiful and rather provocative cocktail dress, a floral pattern on navy silk rayon, very much of the late 30s into the 1940s. This garment survives miraculously thanks to a cousin who had saved it, but it's more than just a dress. These two objects represent two chapters in Ada's life: the rigidity of the army and its absolute opposite, show business. This wasn't just fabric and stitching, this was her stage presence, this was her image, this was the silhouette that audiences remembered when they left the nightclub. So clearly, this woman contained multitudes. Now, who was she? Ada Virginia Strauss was born on 9 May 1914 to Aubrey and Wilma Marks Strauss of Richmond, Virginia. Her father, Aubrey, was a bacteriologist who served in the Army Sanitary Corps during World War I. As was common at the time, Wilma was a homemaker and mother to Ada, her older brother Clifford, and her younger sisters Augusta and Audrey. In civilian life, Aubrey Strauss worked as a bacteriologist and public health official for the city of Richmond, later becoming director of laboratories for the Virginia State Health Department. He also served as director of the Richmond Public Forum from 1936 to 1943, an institution that still exists today. He passed away in 1947. Ada attended John Marshall High School in Richmond, graduating in 1931. She earned a Bachelor of Music Education from Northwestern in 1935, followed by a Master of Arts in Public School Music from Columbia in 1940. I can't help but wonder what she wanted to do with her life. With an upbringing like that, growing up in a house like this, how could Ada lose? She also made this story very easy for us because she was meticulous, and she saved everything. Her CV survives. Yes, her actual CV. By 1935, she was director of the Richmond Theater Children's Orchestra. She went on to become a high school music teacher throughout the Richmond area. But in 1943, Ada made a pivotal decision. She joined the Women's Army Corps for the express purpose of playing in the WAC band. She was stationed around the Southeast with the 403rd Army Service Forces Band from 1943 to 1946, and this is where Ada truly begins to grow. Through the band, she created, produced, directed, and appeared in a musical comedy act called Sergeant Strauss and Her Hungry Five, entertaining hospital awards throughout the 4th Service Command for 2 years. She went on to produce, direct, and appear in another musical variety show called The Gay 90s Review, which toured the command area for 6 months and gave approximately 100 performances in hospital wards for wounded veterans returning from overseas. She was promoted to Assistant Director of the 403rd Army Service Forces Band and Director of the 403rd Army Service Forces Jazz Band. Ada and her little band of merrymakers uplifted the spirits of our boys returning home until 1946. But it's more than that. We have their voices.
To bring you tea from the nearest corner saloon. They'll gurgle a ballroom ballad at the top of a cork on a drop of a beer bottle. We give you those fascinating, scintillating, excruciating, two Marys singing "'Twas a cold winter's evening." Woo!
Was a cold winter's evening, the guests were all leaving, closing the bar. When he up and he said to the lady in red, "Get out, you can't sleep where you are." She wept a sad tear in her bucket of beer as she thought of the cold nights ahead. When a gentleman dapper stepped out of the clapper, and these are the words that he said. Her mother never told her the things a young girl should know about the ways of fancy men and how they come and go. Time has taken her view, life has dealt her a scar. So remember your mothers and sisters, boys, and let her sleep under the bars.
Our next selection is entitled "Have Another Drink." During this number, the lovely ladies will engage in a bit of a poker game.
May I have this, Dawn? Why, sure.
Now we bring you one of the most popular acts of the Smash Hit Revue, Gay 90s, presented at Stark General Hospital in the month of May 1945. The Two Marys singing "You Can Easily See."
Oh, you can easily see she's not my mother, 'cause my mother's over 49. And you can easily see she's not my sister, 'cause my sister never showed me such a wonderful time. Oh, you can easily see she's not my sweetheart, 'cause my sweetheart always acts more refined. She's just a slip of a kid who never cared what she did. She's just a fearless friend. I said a very close friend. I mean a personal friend of mine.
The Three Bells singing "How Am I Doing?"
How am I doing? Hey, hey, tweet, 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 twa, twa. How am I doing? Say, say, gee, oh, baby, oh, sure. Now, I'm not good, but it's understood that what I do, I sure do good. How am I doing? Hey, hey, tweet, 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 twa, twa. How am I doing? Hey, hey, gee, oh, baby, oh, sure. How am I doing? Say, say, gee, oh, baby, oh, sure. Although I'm not the very best in town, I'll be best until the best comes round. Oh, how am I doing? Hey, hey, tweet, 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 twa, twa. How am I doing? Hey, hey, tweet, 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 twa, twa. How am I doing? Say, say, gee, oh, baby, oh, sure. Although I'm covered from my head to my toes, you can still see my personality show. How am I doing? Hey, hey, tweet, 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 twa, twa.
We'll accept all engagements.
With her Army service behind her, Ada didn't slow down. Like many of her bandmates, she joined the Hormel Band. Yes, that Hormel. This is literally how the sausage got made. The Hormel Band traveled the East Coast, billed as the largest, liveliest, and most colorful traveling stage and radio show in the United States. It helped a musically inclined Wax transition back into civilian life, while also promoting America's favorite canned meat, Spam.
Glorious Spam!
In October of 1947, Ada went to work for the Emergency Musicians Fund in New York, serving as a music therapist at Halloran Army Hospital on Staten Island and St. Albans Naval Hospital on Long Island. This is my favorite chapter of Ada's life. As a veteran herself, she spent over 3 years giving veterans something very specific. Not comfort, not pity, but control, rhythm, timing. Something they could still get right. But most of all, hope. Her work was featured in several news articles in 1948 in the New York Times Magazine and the New York Tribune Herald. You should really pause the video to read them. Ada taught all levels of music, from beginner to advanced, and constantly sought ways to increase participation. In her CV, she tells of a story of a former flute player whose face and hands had been badly burned in service. Believing his situation hopeless, he sold his flute. Through the program, he realized he still had music in him, and Ada helped him buy another one. She directed a swing band called the Pajammers. Get it? An ever-changing group of musicians and vocalists that included everyone from kitchen staff, nurses, patients, and doctors. They played constantly, either in concert or before movies, and there was always an audience, even during rehearsals. Ada worked in music therapy until 1950. Now, you'd think doing all these wonderful, glorious things that she wouldn't have much time left for herself. You'd be wrong. Between 1946 and 1950, she also toured as a musical comedian under the name of Virginia Richmond. You get it? Yeah, you get it. Even before leaving the service, Ada was reinventing herself for show business. And if it's not already apparent, she kept everything. Her scrapbook survives, filled with publicity photos. As a comedy nerd, this is the unobtainium. Her act grew out of her wartime fiddle routine, fiddling around. She was creative, disciplined, and prepared. Even heckler comebacks were typed out, rehearsed, and ready. That's professionalism. Almost as bad as Mark Normand with his bundle of jokes in his back pocket.
I won't, I
Notes.
promise.
That top one, just keep the top one abreast.
Why are you doing this?
I like the writing.
Yeah,
I don't want
fucking-
the
Try
reading that.
that one. Wait,
Here's a couple of her heckler callouts. Hey buddy, the management only gives me 10 minutes to make a fool of myself. You've got all night. Now imagine the heckler didn't quite get the hint. She would follow that up with, let's play horse. I'll be the front. You just be yourself. And these are the nice ones. There's even one about penny tossing in here. In October of 1946, she appeared on Arthur Godfrey's Talent Scouts.
And now seated next to me is our next talent scout, Miss Sarah Sykes. Hello, Miss Sykes.
Hello.
Will you tell us a little about yourself, please?
Well, I'm a commercial artist.
A commercial artist, huh? How long? 13 weeks?
Well, for quite a while. I was in the service, though, during the war.
What branch?
I was a WAC.
Where were you stationed?
Oh, lots of places. I was at Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, Fort Dix, Fort Myer. That's near Washington.
Oh, yes, I know. I got a farm down near there. What about this talent you brought us tonight?
It's a girl named Virginia Richmond, who comes from, of all places, Richmond, Virginia.
Bless my soul. Small world, yes.
We were in the service together.
Uh-huh.
In the service, Virginia did a lot of entertaining in hospital wards and at dances. And she also had an act called the Hungry Five, which toured the 4th Service Command.
The Hungry Five, huh? The other 4 could easily have been relatives of mine. Tell me, what instrument does Virginia play?
The violin and French horn.
Both at the same time?
No, but she does do something while she's playing. something that makes her act different. And I think she's wonderful.
Fine. Let's find out about it right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Virginia Richmond.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you'll string along with me, I should like to tell you how practice has put me where I am today on Arthur Godfrey's program. It all started many years ago when I was a little girl, and Mother called Sister and me in, and she says, "Come here, children. It's time we thought about your future." Well, Mother looked at my sister a long time, and she said, "Oh, you're such a pretty little girl. I don't have to worry about you." Then Mother looked at me. Ah! "Virginia, I think you'd better learn to support yourself." So Mother got me a little fiddle, and I started in. "No, I can't come out to play with you. I gotta play a fiddle." But at night, while the other children were sleeping, I was still fiddling around. I fiddled and I fiddled and I fiddled, and then when I was 16, I was discovered. Ooh, did my pop give me heck? Well, then my teacher said to me before going into a nervous breakdown, he says, "Virginia, I don't care where, just go." So here I am. And now, if I may, I should like to present a very beautiful violin concerto, adapted from a fugue in B minor, which in turn was stolen from Opus 3.2 by Rimsky-Get-Your-Courses-Off. The selection is popularly known as Over and Over in 4 movements. Now, this main theme of the first movement. As the second movement begins, the heroine is dashing through the storm, helter-skelter, looking for shelter, but she can't find any shelter, no reservation. Then the clarinets pick up the theme, and the second violinist picks up the heroine. This goes on for... You'll have to be quicker than that. This goes on for 12 bars. At the 13th bar, they're all thrown out. Which brings us back to the first movement. As the third movement opens, the piccolos drop out. Now, you can avoid having your piccolos drop out by seeing a dentist twice a year. Then the brasses predominate until the oboes make their entrance, each reading a copy of the Oboe News. In comes the cello with 6 delicious favors, which brings us back to the first movement. In the fourth movement, and this is really the best movement, we find the heroine crossing the desert. We find the heroine crossing the desert while the second violinist is double-crossing the heroine. Her father's first to the chase with 2 camels, riding one, smoking the other. The drums thunder along in hot pursuit. Somebody wake up that drummer. The drums thunder along in hot pursuit. Thank you. The violins slide into a glissando. The saxes slide into a cadenza. The trombone slides into third space. Everything depends on the umpire. The conductor frantically waves his baton. He urges them on. His men respond. And as they reach the dramatic climax, they blend into one harmonious whole, pulling the heroine in after them. Which brings us back to the first movement.
Virginia Richmond.
It cannot be overstated that Ada was one of the earliest women to carve out a place in solo stand-up comedy. Fanny Brice and Moms Mabley paved the way as comedic actresses, sure, but Ada stood alone on stage. The marvelous Mrs. Maisel has absolutely fucking nothing on Virginia Richmond. In August of 1948, she appeared on Leonard Sillman's New Faces radio show, essentially 1940s American Idol, on the radio.
our guest new face, violinist Virginia Richmond.
Virginia Richmond was born in Richmond, Virginia. How quaint.
At the age of 12, she was frightened by Evelyn and her violin.
So she took up the fiddle to get even with Evelyn.
While a whack in the Army, she directed an all-girl band called the Hungry Five.
4 years later, we are proud to say the Hungry Five all got married, and now they are the Hungry 10.
Her greatest ambition?
To find out what the pussy willow whispered to the catnip.
And here is Virginia Richmond and her violin.
Well, you know, I didn't always play the violin that well. Oh, no, it took many years of hard work, constant study, and endless practice to put me where I am today on New Faces. Well, you know, I remember so well how it all started. I was just a little girl. I was outdoors playing with my sister, and Mother called us in. She says, "Children, I think it's time you stopped all this playing. You began to think about your future." Well, she looked at my little sister a long time, and then Mother said, "Oh, such a pretty little girl. I don't have to worry about you. Run along." Then Mother looked at me. You better learn to support yourself. She wasn't kidding. So she got me a little fiddle, and I started in. Nah, I can't come out to play with you. I gotta play the fiddle. But you know, folks, there's a bright side to everything, because at night, while the other children were sleeping, I was still fiddling around. I fiddled, and I fiddled, and I fiddled. But you know, then I remember the day my music teacher took out his earplugs, and he says, "Look, kid, don't you think you've had enough lessons?" You know, he was the complaining kind. You've had teachers like that. No matter what you do, it doesn't suit. As soon as I'd walk in for my lesson, he'd look at me and he'd say, "Now, why don't you have a shape like the violin instead of like the bow?" Isn't it wonderful what the new look has done for me? You know, really, fellas, there are two reasons for wearing the new look. I'm standing on them. Well, this fella down here is not even listening. He's just looking. Well, you know, I wonder, though, if any of you ever took up violin when you were little. Or maybe you're making your kids go through it. Oh, no. You know, from my point of view, the art of violin playing is beastly. Oh, beastly, my friends. Drawing horsehair across catgut. Well, I'd just like to close this, shall we say, lecture on the violin with one piece of advice. And that is this. If you folks ever get the urge to fiddle, for heaven's sakes, lie down until the feeling passes.
Ada would tour across New York, New Jersey, New England, and even performed on a cruise to London between 1946 and 1951. In 1951, Ada met Harold Jaffer through her brother Clifford, and Harold had lived a life every bit as remarkable as hers. A native New Yorker, Harold played handball in the late 20s with none other than Ernest Hemingway, Quentin Reynolds, and Paul Douglas, the actor. Like, that's normal, right? In the 30s and 40s, he became deeply involved in Jewish causes. He joined the United Palestine Appeal in 1935. By 1937, he was reorganizing the American Jewish Congress and helped lead a boycott of German goods, including a 4-block picket around Macy's that forced the store to drop German imports. In 1940, Harold worked with the American Committee to Save European Children, helping Jewish children escape through France and Spain to safety in America. After the war, he joined the Palestine Economic Corporation, and in 1946, David Ben-Gurion personally asked him to lead a support group for the Haganah. Harold oversaw the purchase and refitting of ships, including the Exodus, and recruited crews to break the British blockade. On 15 May 1948, the day Israel declared independence, Harold entered the country aboard the final blockade runner. He served first as a private, later as a major on the general staff, overseeing foreign volunteers known as the Machal. When things settled down in Israel, Harold moved back to the U.S., where he met Ada. She met someone who, like her, had already lived many lives. They married, had 2 kids, and like an old Jewish couple, immediately moved to Florida. Ada set down the microphone and focused on family, but she never stopped playing and never stopped laughing. From violin at age 7 to French horn and trumpet, music was always a part of her life. When arthritis made violin impossible, she picked up the horn again and played for the rest of her life. She made every effort to play taps at every military funeral she could. Ada Strauss Jaffer ended every evening with a quiet nightcap of bourbon, her private ritual. She passed away at the age of 100 in October of 2014, unafraid to do anything, get up, make noise, and risk being seen. She is remembered for her relentless energy, her humor, and of course, her music. Like a dutiful daughter of Virginia, much of Ada's ephemera and papers are in the collections at the Women's Army Museum at Fort Lee, Virginia. Please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this video where you think it'll do the most good. And remember, you never know who'll tell your story. Live a storied life. Thank you.